You know that moment. Something breaks. Something you love. You grab the super glue, press the pieces together, and for a second, it feels like you've paused time. Suddenly, it's like the crack never happened. But how does a liquid turn into a rock-hard bond? Here's the surprising part. Super glue doesn't dry the way most people think. It doesn't need hours. It doesn't even need heat. It needs something so common. You can't escape it. Moisture. Welcome to The Smart Side, where we decode how the world really works. Over the next few minutes, you'll see why super glue feels like magic, what it's doing at a tiny, invisible level, and why it's risky around your favorite t-shirt. Most superglues are made from a chemical called cyanoacrylate. Yeah, it's a mouthful, which is why most people just stick to calling it superglue. You don't need the name, just the behavior. It's a liquid that's ready to react the moment it meets a little water. And here's why that matters. Almost every surface has a thin layer of moisture on it, even if it feels dry. There's moisture in the air, on your skin, and tiny traces on the materials you touch. So, when you squeeze out superglue, it immediately runs into its trigger. A lot of glues work by slowly losing liquid. They dry, and what's left behind becomes sticky and firm. Superglue is different. It hardens because its molecules start linking together, fast. That linking is called polymerization. Fancy word? Simple idea. In plain terms, the glue starts building chains, and those chains, they lock solid. Pretty wild, right? Think of it like this. A bunch of tiny pieces snap together into long chains, and those chains lock into a solid. The glue isn't just sitting there, it's building something right in the gap between the two surfaces. And the surfaces help more than you'd think. Because even smooth metal or glass isn't truly smooth. Up close, it's full of tiny bumps and pits. Superglue flows into those tiny textures, then hardens and grips like it's anchored in place. So the bond comes from two things. The glue sticks to the surface, and it also locks into the surface texture. Now you might be thinking, if moisture triggers it, why doesn't it harden inside the bottle? Because the bottle is designed to keep moisture out. Plus, the glue is stabilized, so it doesn't start reacting on its own. But once it's out in the open, the reaction can start almost immediately. Sometimes, though, it takes longer than you expect. That usually happens for two reasons. 1. The surfaces are very dry, or very non-reactive. 2. The glue layer is too thick. This is a big one, because with superglue, more isn't always better. A thin layer cures faster and holds stronger. A thick blob can harden on the outside, but stay soft or weak inside. If you want the best bond, press the parts together firmly. That squeezes the glue into a thin film, pushes out air gaps, and helps it harden evenly. Now, about the instant part. Why does it feel like it happens all at once? Because the reaction is a chain reaction. Once it starts, it speeds itself up. One connection helps create the next connection, and suddenly the whole layer locks up. And yes, this reaction can release heat. That's why superglue can sometimes feel warm, and on certain materials, it can heat up more than you expect. Here's a weird but true detail. Superglue reacts crazy fast with materials like cotton. Cotton has tons of surface area and tiny traces of moisture, so the glue can polymerize very quickly. That can create intense heat and sharp fumes. So, superglue and cotton? Not best friends. Why does superglue stick to skin so well? Because skin is basically the perfect environment. It's warm, it has moisture, and it has plenty of texture. So the glue triggers fast, then hardens across that tiny texture on your skin. That's also why pulling it off can hurt. It's gripping more than just the surface. Okay, now the part people don't expect. Superglue can be very strong, but not in every situation. It's great when the pieces fit tightly and the force is mostly pulling straight apart. But it's not great with bending and twisting, because once it hardens, super glue is fairly rigid, and rigid things can crack. If an object flexes a lot, tiny cracks can form in the glue layer, and those cracks can grow over time. That's why a repair can feel perfect, and then suddenly pop loose later. And there's one more big reason repairs fail: dirty surfaces. Dust, oil, grease. If the glue bonds to the grime instead of the material, the bond is only as strong as the grime. So the real secret of superglue isn't just the chemistry, it's contact. Clean surfaces, tight fit, thin layer, firm pressure. Superglue hardens when moisture triggers a fast chain reaction, turning the liquid into a solid, plastic-like network. That's why it feels instant. It's not drying, it's transforming. So next time you use superglue, you'll know what's happening behind the scenes. A tiny, invisible reaction, building a solid bridge between two surfaces in seconds. If you learned something new today, a like really helps, and subscribing means a lot. It's how the smart side keeps making videos like this. Thanks for watching. And here's a fun question. If moisture makes superglue harden, what happens in a perfectly dry place, or even in space?